Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Before I dive into the chat, I want to say please go and download OneFootball by clicking that link in the description below. If you want all the best transfer news and all the best gossip from across the world of football and all the breaking news, you know what to do. Click the link in the description below and get the best football app on the market, bar absolutely none. It's the best way to stay ahead of the game and get all the information about all the players and all the teams from across the world of football. And more than that as well, it helps support my channel, so it's absolutely appreciated. Please do click that link in the description and nourish your football knowledge and get the best football app on the market. Download OneFootball right now. Do it. What are you waiting for? Hello everyone, welcome back to the first video in absolutely ages. I'm blaming this room behind me and general chaos in life and the international break and everything else. I hope you're all good. I'm here with the wonderful Mulv of Noisy Pod. Mulv, say hello to the camera.
Hello from Texas.
Texas, oh man. Where else in Texas are you again?
I'm in Dallas or near it.
It's such a big place, Texas, isn't it? It's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
I presumed when I went to Austin that I was like dead close to everyone. Then I looked at the map, I was like, fucking nowhere near anyone. It's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Manchester City, a massive club. Of course, as well, I've got the King of the North, Mr. Joe Butterfield, next to me as well. How you doing, Joe? You all right?
I'm good, yeah. I'm all good. I've just seen that the man, the myth, the freak that is Erling Haaland has just scored for Norway as well.
Has
so
he?
It's
Breaking news. Of course he has.
Yeah. So it's carrying on. He's never going to stop. It's all looking good forever.
Oh, forever. Everything's sorted forever. Well, how old is he now? 22, is he? How long do you imagine another 10 years of Haaland? That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Until the stepping stone kicks in, of course. I've not spoken to you about Haaland, by the way. Used to. I guess you just love him. Is that a simple conclusion?
Yeah. It's hard not to.
Yeah, everybody does.
Well, everyone does, apart from that guy off TikTok. The United fan guy. That was good fun. Did you see him? The one who was like, he scored 4 goals already, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not normal. It's not normal. I love that. But anyway, basically, the topic of today's video, of course, I wanted to talk about something interesting during the international break because they're very dull and they're very tedious unless Haaland's scoring. And I thought something that isn't a problem yet, but one day could be something that we have to consider. So let's get ahead of it. Is the potential of Manchester City keeping 5 very talented and very wonderful and very likeable, actually, centre-backs happy because we've got quite a collection of defenders. We've gone from a situation where I was thinking, are we going to sell Ake and have 2 or 3 available or whatever, to having 5 wonderful defenders. And, of course, one of those has been added recently, Manuel Akanji. Joe, let's start with Akanji because he seems a good way to bounce off this because he's essentially prompted this by 1, joining unexpectedly, and 2, in my opinion, being pretty damn good. What have you made of his start so far at Manchester City?
It's I find it so. It feels a bit like when we signed Bernardo Silva, and obviously that came with a bit more fanfare because a lot of us had seen him in the months beforehand and gone, "Wow, we really need this guy." And then literally over 2 days, it was just like, "Yeah, City have signed him," and it just like that was it. It was done. This has just it just came out of absolutely nowhere, and it was just done quickly. But I don't think a single was there a single report linking us with Akanji before we actually went and did it. I don't even know, but I think it's when we first got linked with him, I was like, why would we sign a Borussia Dortmund defender? Like, they are very good going forward, but obviously at the back they are less than good. But I saw a lot of Dortmund fans saying that obviously his own ability is not really reflected in how Dortmund defend generally, and that, to give him a chance when he's very obviously capable on the ball and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, I was still thinking, look, he's a £15 million player. He might just be a little bit of a stopgap that we get for the sake of, the injuries that were piling up at the start of the season. Yeah. And if it's 15 million and in a year's time he thinks I'm not getting enough football and leaves, fine. We'd probably make a profit on him no matter what. So who cares? But then the length of deal that we gave him, is it 5 years that he's got a contract-wise?
I think, is it
4 or 5? Yeah,
it's not short anyway.
Yeah, it's long enough where you're thinking, there's clearly some kind of plan for him to stay pretty long term. You don't give someone who is a stopgap that 4 or 5 years. And to be fair, there's reasons why we might want a centre back in for the long term. I mean, we've had Laporte and Ake both quite publicly be open to the idea of leaving in the last couple of summers. So maybe there's already a thought that and we'll probably come on to this, the idea that we maybe not able to keep him happy. But in terms of him as a player, very good. I love like he's got the ability on the ball, but he's also really physical. Like, I think he's got that sort of that shoulder barge in the penalty area, that that dodgy shoulder barge where you can push them over, but it's not actually a foul. He seems to have that locked. I'm
Vinny
looking,
Kompany shoulder barge, basically, which genuinely is of anything, like getting away with slightly physical fouls potentially.
Yeah, he's going to give away a penalty in his next game now. I've said that, but like it's he's just brilliant. I think there's, especially for the amount of money we've paid for him, I just find it. You know, you look at a signing like that and you just think, you know, where were Arsenal, where were Chelsea, where were United, where were Liverpool, like all these clubs that could have maybe taken advantage of the situation that he was in.
That's a really good point, because the money they pay for Fofana in that Chelsea, it's just, you see that.
It's crazy. So very, very, very happy. I mean, I think I'd be happy with him if we'd signed him for 30, 40 million, but for 15, I think it's just insane business.
Share the same feelings, Mull?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the lot. And at that price, it's an absolute bargain. At the very, very least, he's a huge insurance policy at the back. Like Joe said, he's got a bit of Vincent Kompany. It's some sort of blend between Kompany and Kyle Walker for me.
That's a good defender.
Yeah, it's a very good defender. And if you look back at the end of last season, we just barely got across the line with the centre backs that we had. So once again, the depth there is incredible, and it's we're in a great position there. That again, all really nice blokes. That seems to be rule number one for Pep when he's bringing them in, is that they're going to fit in and be good people. So pleased with his performances so far.
Been good, hasn't it? It's been good. Of course, though, you know, that does mean that we're going to have a lot of defenders. I mean, I've been really impressed with him too. I did that whole thing that Joe alluded to earlier. I was like, why are we signing this guy from Dortmund who's got a reputation of being a little bit blah, 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 whatever, a little bit maybe error prone and so on. But I did quickly reassess when I was thinking about it a little bit. Because I'm often wrong, like most of us are about football. You know, we're all wrong every now and then. But I do remember, I immediately remembered a very similar, essentially, kind of theory around Dias when he signed. You know, a guy who had a great season the year before he signed for us, and then had a bit of an off season. But you forget, I guess, sometimes how much the players are essentially victims to those around them a little bit, and obviously Dortmund are a bit of a mess defensively. And to be honest, at that price as well, when he came in, I was like, oh, look, we can't really fail here. You know, like we'll probably get the money back if we want to sell him anyway, and then he might be decent or whatever. But so far, he's looked excellent. Of course, though, going on to title this video, look, Laporte is very, very nearly back. Obviously, we know that Guardiola really, really rates Laporte. He just does. I would love to see the stats actually in terms of, I don't know the stats of who plays the most often, but I feel like it's definitely Laporte alongside Dias is the most favoured choice there. If that's fair on Stones or not, it often feels that way. And I do wonder if he's going to come straight back into the team. Do you think Laporte's going to come straight back in, Joe? Is it a situation where he's going to have to sit on the bench a little bit? You know, obviously get his fitness initially, but presumably he's fully fit and a month's passed and he's been on the bench. Does he come straight back into the team, or have we got a potential problem here with Ake playing well and Dias favouring the left side every now and then and Akanji?
Yeah, I think it's because I've always thought of Pep's attitude towards the centre backs is like, until you do something wrong, you're fine, and that he'll just sort of keep it as is until one of or both of the centre backs make some kind of horrendous error that means like, right, you're out, time for the next guy to have a shot, and he can stay until he sort of does something similar. I think, to be fair, the defence has been suspect in recent weeks to the point where Pep might want to put in a Laporte straight away. But really, I think that it'll probably just come down to the fullback situation. I think the fact we've got two fullbacks, basically, I mean, we've got Gomez as well, who can play on the left, but realistically isn't probably going to start a Premier League game anytime soon. I think that having Ake and Stones almost being used as cover for those positions means that there is more room for Laporte to maybe come back in, and it's difficult. It's difficult in terms of whether he comes straight back in. I would personally not throw him straight back in because I think that Ake has been really good, despite maybe a bit of defensive. It's not been perfect defensively for the last month or so, but Ake has individually still been really good, I think. So I think that I would personally stick with, you know, maybe not throwing Laporte straight back in, but Pep does. Laporte's passing is on a level that maybe Ake's isn't, and I think that's something that Pep values more than whatever else Ake can bring.
Mull, I mean,
I'm having that last bit from Joe.
Do you think he comes back in then? Yeah. His passing.
Well, I think it depends if Pep thinks that our issues on the left-hand side, attacking-wise, are down to there not being a Laporte behind them all. You know, whoever we've had on the left wing has struggled to play at their top level. So if Pep thinks Laporte is the answer to that, and missing him is part of the problem, then yeah, I think he'll go straight back in because I think it's clear he's our best centre back in the build up. So yeah, I think it just depends if Pep thinks he could be the solution to unlocking the left side and attack. I think it would be very harsh on like an Ake who's been brilliant, but I can see him coming straight back in if Pep thinks it's the right thing to do for the attack.
Is it just me, or does it feel like Pep's been really, really impressed by Akanji? You know what I mean? Like so far, like in terms of I'm getting the impression that Pep just might really like this guy, you know, and like obviously I'm sure he likes a lot of his defenders, but there's something about Akanji to me that strikes me as a real prototype Guardiola defender. You know, he's obviously very elegant on the ball, he's a natural born leader. And I'd probably say he's, in terms of on the ball, where would you guys rank him? To me, he's definitely better than Diaz on the ball. He's definitely better than Ake. Stones, I think, is underappreciated. He's pushing Stones and Laporte, isn't he? Really? Do you think Laporte's the best on the ball that we've got?
Yeah. I think Stones is. I've always put Stones a little bit better on the ball, maybe. But they're both like pretty. You can probably
what's he called? Passing and bring the ball out are two different things, and I reckon bring the ball out. Stones is probably the best. I reckon.
Yeah, and then Laporte's passing is just on another level to the rest of the defenders as centre backs, I think. But then you've got those two maybe up there. Akanji's probably like there. I don't think the difference is that huge in terms of what he can do. Which again, maybe Pep didn't, like I didn't think that was going to be as good as it has turned out to be.
Yeah.
So I think Akanji getting the start in that first was it the Champions League? He made his debut.
Yeah,
getting the start in that game. He probably just thought, oh, we'll ease him in with the champ because he likes to bring people into the Champions League games for sort of their first big matches. I think maybe the way that European football is maybe a bit more open helps players be a bit more themselves. But I think he saw that and just went, oh right, well I've actually got to play this guy now. And obviously maybe injuries to Kyle Walker and stuff have helped that. But I think he's like you say, I think he's probably been more impressed with Akanji than maybe he expected to be.
Ryan Dixon just said in the chat that Diaz hinders our build-up massively, but his defensive qualities means he keeps his place in the important games. And I think, like, Ryan's general sentiment, I don't think he's that bad on the ball personally, but I guess I know what he means in terms of, like, he's not our most creative defender in terms of, like, on the ball. Like he's not, like, terrible on the ball. He's fine, totally fine, and we've been brilliant football within the team. But he's obviously such a natural-born leader, and as a pure one-on-one defender, he's possibly our best. Or whatever. I don't know what he brings something to the team, doesn't he? He brings that something almost intangible to the team. But at the same time, like, is it just me, Mull? But I can't help but feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Guardiola just tries Akanji and Laporte together. Like something about those two defenders to me. Like it's just both pacey, but two fastest centre backs, both good height and both really comfortable on the ball. And Stones seems to be a little bit a victim of his potential versatility and the fact that he's been around the team so long that we know he's happy to be rotated. Do you know what I'm getting at? Like, could we see Diaz sat on the bench potentially?
Yeah, you could. You absolutely could. I think if I'm playing FIFA, then my two centre backs would be Laporte and Stones, probably. Just like that's a dream. Two Rolls Royce, passing, attacking defenders, players that can bring the ball out from the back into the midfield.
I can't believe you hate Ruben Dias, man. It's shocking behaviour.
No. That's the thing, and that's why this is such a great topic because they're all top class, and that's why we're having this debate. So yes, I could definitely see Laporte next to Akanji. This whole idea of having a settled centre back pairing.
Joe's just sick of it,
Yeah.
He hates this idea.
I can't stand for this anymore. No Ruben Dias slander.
Down with set roles and the teams.
It's weird because I think our defending has been decent this season. We've had some moments of weakness, but I think inside we all think, everybody should have a settled centre back pairing. But at this point, he's played so many combinations there, and they've all worked really well. It's definitely something different. But you're right. I totally agree with what you were saying, Stephen, about Ruben Dias his qualities in that they're intangible, and his leadership skills are, I think, unmatched at the back for sure. So yeah, I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard.
It is. It
like
is.
A big game. Can you really leave Ruben Dias on the bench in a big game? You know, like an important match, like. Because, I mean, he's the leader, surely, Joe, right? Like, surely Ruben Dias is the one that you go for. You got Atletico Madrid away in the Champions League or something like that. You know, you got Liverpool at home. Surely you play Ruben Dias because is he undroppable in those games?
I think he brings that sort of... We mentioned Kompany before, but I think like Ruben Dias has the sort of the mentality side of what Kompany brings, and that sort of that leadership and that, you know... I think it's just always good to have. What I've always liked most about what Ruben Dias brings, obviously, you know, the pure defending that he does, but the fact that whenever someone else does something good defensively, he's always there to sort of like G them up afterwards, and sort of keeps that. He very much keeps that, you know, defending is what we do, and like he celebrates a lot of things the way that attackers celebrate scoring goals when it's done well defensively, and I think that helps your defenders want, like, just something simple like that can make your defenders want to keep doing good things defensively, as you know, obviously not conceding a goal is quite good as well. But you know, the fact that you're getting genuine appreciation from your teammates, and well, Ruben Dias is almost a captain in that sense, isn't he? A lot of the time for the defenders.
Yeah.
So getting that is great, and it's I would definitely play him in big games for that exact reason. And I think that, you know, when it does come to games where there's going to be a physical battle as well, I think Dias is just the man to have in the back four for me of the centre backs. I don't think anyone. Obviously, Akanji is quite physically imposing as well, but I think Dias has got the physicality side to his game more than maybe the others do.
It's really, really difficult to predict how this goes because right now we're in, you know, it feels like the season's been gone forever, but it's only essentially the end of September. And at this point, no one's really unhappy with like a game time. Laporte is probably the one who we know is the most fussy when it comes to game time and so on. He doesn't like to be on the bench. We've heard plenty of rumours about that in the past. And it's almost sometimes a scenario where no one's ever happy with a player's being injured, but there is sometimes where a player being out sort of solves a potential problem, you know, because it solves itself, doesn't it? Because you don't have to worry about keeping everyone happy and whatever, because they can't play. But Laporte's coming back, and given the Sod's law, we all know that as soon as, you know, we got defenders in because we didn't have enough, but we all know that now we've got 5, they're all going to be fit for a period of time, because that's just football. It does that, and it'll just be like, deal with that, Pep, and someone's going to miss out at some point. Someone won't even make the bench. And none of them deserve that. But that is a scenario. How do you manage them all, Joe? Like, is there going to be an immense lot of rotations? Are any of these going to be full-time fullbacks now? Is this maybe Stones' role? There's a lot of questions there, but what's your impression of how it looks like if all 5 are fit?
So, realistically, at least 2 are going to sit on the bench for large parts of the season. Well, you know, 3 realistically. If we've got all of our defenders fit, 3 will sit out every week, which is a bit of a problem because it means that best case scenario, you're as a centre back in City's team, you're probably looking at maybe 30 to 40 games a season, which is still good. Which is still, like, I think a lot of players in a title-winning team would be happy with that. But when you're someone who's maybe a Laporte or a Diaz,
it wasn't enough for Sterling, was it? You know,
no, correct, and it's, you know, there's players like Zinchenko who maybe were happy with that for a period of time, and you know, there's players who, like we saw with Laporte a couple of years ago, aren't happy with that. Like, if they get benched for Stones for half the season, then they're going to go, right, well, I'm off, and. Like I briefly mentioned before, maybe this signing of Akanji, as much as it feels it was like just one of those, a bit like when they do a release clause on someone, it's very much a like, oh, well, the deal was too good to not do now sort of thing. God, my cats are stealing the show. I just realised
there was 2 cats there.
Yeah.
one merged into another. That was crazy.
It's but yeah, so I think Akanji has almost sort of been bought with the idea in mind that obviously with Laporte having rumoured the summer before this, and then Ake reported to want to go this summer as well, or at least being open to it. Akanji is a cheap red, like, you know, if we're going to have someone to replace maybe 2 centre-backs next summer, we're going to need at least one of them to already be, one of the replacements to already be settled in the club to some extent. And for 15 million, just say to Akanji, look, you might play 20, 25, 30 games this season, but we're kind of anticipating that one of our guys with the game time being split might not be so happy to stay here next season. And then your place in the pecking order will go up one. But really, you can't keep them all happy. It's just the nature of a team like Manchester City. Like we've seen it with Sterling, we saw it with So even Torres was quite happy to go back to Barcelona. Sane wasn't happy after a season of being left out on the for Sterling and Bernardo when they played in 18-19. I just think top players are going to come and go because of that. Like we will keep the majority of them, and we have done. But there's always going to be a couple that don't. And I just find it mad that we've got this situation with the centre backs of all things. When 2 or 3 years ago we were looking at 2 years ago we were playing Fernandinho and Eric Garcia in a Champions League game, and what a time that was. And now we've got too many centre backs, so it's a good problem to have.
Is this a potential blessing in disguise more? Because essentially we know eventually, even if we just kept these 4 centre backs, one of us probably want to go anyway, because they just want someone's going to want. I think if we hadn't signed Akanji, everyone would have been relatively fit. There was rumours that Ake could have considered leaving this summer, and he would have gone, if City had accepted him from Chelsea. Laporte, a couple of years back, was, testing the waters about a potential exit. I think City, my theory is that City have been aware that someone might go for a while now. Could it be now that they've gone like, Akanji comes in, we get him a year to get up to scratch, we pay next to no money, and you're going to get minimum 2 years from Akanji, aren't you? Because, like any player you sign is not going to leave after a year, after they've inevitably won a trophy at Man City and training to Guardiola. So is it almost like we've essentially just we're trading our replacement for a potential sale next summer, and essentially no damage done, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this is what they did with Grealish, actually. When the timing of Grealish coming in was, I think they were expecting wingers to depart, and what happens then is you get at least a season worth of experience in the side, and then maybe you make that position yours in year 2. But I'm going to try and argue, just for the sake of balance, I'm going to try to argue can't keep them happy. I'll try to suggest to you that you can. And I think it starts with who our manager is. And I think if it was any other manager, I think you would look at the depth at centre-back and say that's not sustainable. But because of who Pep Guardiola is and how he uses players in different positions and how he keeps us in multiple competitions so that the number of games stays high, I think you give Pep Guardiola 5 substitutes per game with a small squad. Answer me this. Is there any scenario where those players, if they're all fit, those centre-backs wouldn't even make the bench? I think they'd always all be on the bench. Am I right?
Well,
I think our squad's too small. Really,
yes, because the squad's too small.
Yeah,
I think.
So I think they always
Laporte comes back. Maybe we'll be one
maybe.
Down. Let's have a look at I'm going to look at the last game, the last result, which was already forgotten, is the Wolves game, wasn't it? And I'm going to look at the bench there and who was missing. So
I think maybe if the entire squad, every single squad member is fit, then maybe 1 or 2, maybe 1 misses out. But I think I think realistically, realistically with the number of injuries we do get.
Two keepers on the bench, and I think Calvin Phillips was missing. So Calvin Phillips comes straight back into that. And then that means Carster's off the bench. Then you've got Palmer, Mahrez, Gomez, whatever. To be honest, then after that, you've got Laporte just missing. So someone misses out, and we know it'd probably be Cole Palmer, wouldn't it? But
the reality is, I think
Gomez.
that you're always going to have somebody injured. So that we're never going to have a fully fit squad, I don't imagine, or for a short period of time. So I think all these guys always make the bench at the very least. You got 5 subs. In the games where you're doing well enough to make 5 subs, these guys are getting minutes. So, like I said earlier, he's also going to use these guys at different positions. Ake's going to see some time at left back, Stones at right back. I think Akanji's a potential fill-in for that sort of tucked-in right-back role that he's been asking Walker and Stones to do. I think Akanji could do that really well because he's got the right skill set for it. So, I'll make the argument that because we've got Pep, that maybe it's not as unsustainable as it might look on paper. That's my take.
What do you make of the Stones at right-back thing? Do you think there's any legs in that move? Is it just a short-term thing, or is it keeping... because obviously Walker's out right now. He's just obviously got back from... He's on the bench every day, but is it long-term this, or is it just something he's doing right now?
So my thoughts on why he's doing it and why he does it with Walker is just to keep keep control of the game when we're in the opposition's half. Keeps keeps the space very compact and it stops the counter attack. But also Walker gives you a bit of a pass or a get out of jail free card if there is a long ball over the top and you need a really rapid guy to get back. It's a bit of a safety valve there. Now, moving Stones into that role, I think works because, again, of Stone's skill set there, in that he can play a midfield type role if asked to. I think as long as there's no real pacey threat in behind, like a San Maximan or somebody like that, I think you can get away with Stones there. And actually, I think it quite suits him the way he with his progressive passing, and his now long range shooting.
Don't shoot, Stonesy, don't shoot. Do you think this is a long-term position for him there, Joe? Like at right back? I mean, I'm skeptical personally.
I really hope not. I want us to sign a right back as soon as we possibly can, January if possible. Like, I know we've got too many. I know that would mean that we've got like 9 defenders or something stupid. But like, I want us to have like a genuine bit of cover.
Joe. Just love defenders.
I need some
Thomas
cover.
Tuchel's here is in disguise.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. I think we need. I think we just need genuine cover for Kyle Walker. If we say that, Ake kind of is cover for Cancelo, but I would say that Gomez is sort of more the mold of an actual traditional left back and back there. Ake can kind of do what Stones does at right back, but on the left, and maybe has a bit more pace in him going forward, perhaps. But I think realistically, I just want like what we tried to get with Cucurella in the summer, but on the right hand side instead. Like Walker's getting to the point now where I think we've seen from the first few games of the season, it could have just been a bit of like pre-season rust sort of thing, but he didn't look himself, and a bit of pre-injury. So I'm hoping that maybe he's come back and he'll get back. He will get back to a level where none of us are going to be concerned about Walker being in the team anymore. But he was playing really badly in that first. To be honest, I don't really like Walker in that tucked in position. I know that his passing's improved. I know his passing's improved a lot since the start of the season. Since he joined us, full stop. But for me, it's still not at the level where I'd put him in centre mid and say, can you please be the guy who helps to circulate the ball? Like, it's just not, for me, it's just not his skill set. Keep him. I've quite liked what we've done seemingly for the last few years, where Cancelo, for the last couple of years even, where Cancelo has been the guy who moves forward, and you have a back three basically sitting back, and one of them is Walker with his recovery pace, and that, like you say, gets you that get out jail free card. But yeah, so for me, if Walker's not going to play, if he's injured, we'll move on with Stones. Like, we'll do it. But I would just like us to be in a situation where if our right back's injured, we've got a right back to cover him, and not just a centre back who can do a job in a specific inverted role that maybe Pep doesn't want to use every single game, but we'll probably have to just out of necessity, because there isn't, unless he's going to put Cancelo there and start. There's ways it can be shifted around, but really I just want 2 actual natural left backs and 2 actual natural right backs to be cover for one another. But this is Pep, and it never works out that way with Guardiola somehow.
Yeah, and here we are winning the league every year, So it's like,
well, it's a hard life.
It? We sit there and say these things. You'd probably be right, and like then we think every single time the same things happens, and we're like, maybe we're just wrong. Maybe he's redefining what squad balance looks like, and it's just
there's a crisis in the squad composition every single season. Like, there's always some position where we're like, oh my god, this is just, we can't do this, not again, and then somehow we do. So I mean, we might think this is a big problem now, but when we're 10 points clear in May, we'll be all right.
As men,
March. I'll say it's good about March.
As men, we're so naturally drawn to symmetry and feel weird if things aren't symmetrical. I think Pep's one step ahead of us there.
Is that a male trait?
Apparently, yeah. Apparently, men love symmetry and keeping everything in balance.
That's true actually, because I've been staring at my camera for the past 20 minutes to see how it's wonky. Look, my defense, as everyone noticed, this is a new background because I've just moved, because my old office is directly below me, which is going to be the nursery, which is a terrible idea because I'm going to keep that poor child awake an awful lot. But I've not set it up yet fully, and it should be like this. There we go.
Actually, is there any way you can get another guest on so that we have 4 of us?
Yeah, I'll just I'll just put my face in the bottom corner from my other laptop, just doing nothing. But yeah, like the symmetry thing, I guess. Like you're sort of right though. It's like an unticked box there, isn't it? You know, like it's like we've got. Isn't it weird, by the way, how the squad went from being like a crisis about 2 months ago to actually looking pretty good? It's funny, isn't it, how just getting numbers in sometimes can be really useful, because before Gomez came in, before Akanji came in, and obviously there was a lot of talk about lacking defenders, and then everyone was panicking about, not having enough wingers, but then Alvarez showed that he's brilliant. Haaland showed that he's even better than we thought he would do. Then we signed a really experienced Champions League, centre-back, and then obviously we got Gomez in, who's more than suitable to be on the pitch when we need him to do a job. You know, like, I'm not saying, we don't know how good he is yet, but he's obviously a good footballer. You can tell that already. And is it me or something? Is our squad actually gone pretty decent? You know, he was already good anyway, but it feels like we've got answers to most questions now. Is that fair, Joe?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you say, the inclusion of Gomez and Akanji in sort of the last week of the window was pretty massive in that sense. Yeah. I think before then you could make the case that with just Haaland, Alvarez, Phillips, that was it, isn't it? We signed Ortega as well, who's obviously like a backup keeper. But really, in terms of just those 3 signings, you could say that we'd pretty significantly improved our squad from last season. And I think that, to then add the defensive stability. Well, maybe when you factor in the outgoings of Zinchenko, Jesus, and Sterling, then maybe you could make an argument that it's not gone up that much quality wise. But honestly, when you do those 3 and then add Gomez and Akanji into the equation on top of that, it just the squad just looks totally different to how it did before those 2 signings. Because if if we think the squad's small now, remove those 2 and we're putting 3 or 4 kids on the bench every week at that point. It's madness. So yeah, those 2 signings at the end of the window, especially in the defensive numbers as well, really helped, because otherwise it's just if one of our defenders goes down, basically every fit defender's on the pitch at that point, which is not sustainable.
It's so much better, isn't it? Let's go back to the top of the video more. So you fast forward, right? We just won the Champions League. We just won everything. We've just won everything. We've won it all, whatever. Something's rolling around, and we're all brilliant. But Nathan Ake sat there, and he's a sad Nathan Ake, because he's only played 20 games, and he wants to play more. And Newcastle have just offered him 300 grand a week or whatever, and then Laporte's been tempted by the 7th economic lever maybe for Barcelona. I don't know. The scenario's going on. And Laporte's been disappointed because he was actually on the bench at the Champions League final, and Diaz was there alongside Akanji for whatever reason, and Stones was playing right wing or something. I don't know. Let's fast forward, and this scenario's happened where a lot of players have been happy, but at the same time, they feel like they've accomplished everything at Manchester City. I don't know. This is a dream scenario. Do you see all 5? I know you said they could keep them happy more, but do you see all 5 at City next season, realistically? Do you think they'll all be there? Or if not, if so, well, that's the end of the question. But if not, who do you think will move on?
The interesting wrinkle you've thrown me is winning the Champions League, because I think that can change a lot of minds. Maybe even the manager's mind, to be honest with you.
What do you mean by that? What are you saying?
Careful. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I reckon that carrot of not having won that yet sort of keeps.
That's what keeps Pep hungry.
Well, surely we know by then, though. Surely you can't be like, we get into mid-May Champions League final, we don't know if Pep's going to stay in or not.
Well, I mean, even if he signs a contract, doesn't mean he wouldn't want to leave if he wins it. You know what I mean? I don't, and it's not necessarily Pep. I just think the whole thing, Manchester City in its entirety, from all the way up to the top. I think that carrot of the Champions League is really keeping the hunger alive across the whole thing.
Probably right.
So I think that's a bit of a wrinkle you've thrown me there, but
let's say we don't win Champions League then. That was just
okay.
David,
We win everything else.
Yeah, it's more likely. Yeah. Let's look at every scenario. Pep plays Stones at right centre back, and Laporte's playing left wing back, and we've done something mad, and we've lost Champions League final 7-0.
What, like no defensive midfielder in a Champions League final? That'd be ridiculous.
That's what's going to happen. Kyle Walker's playing at number 6. He's going to drive you mad. He's going to do something like that. But anyway,
it's a good question, and as much as I argued the opposite earlier, I'd have to say it would be tough to keep them all. It just depends, I think, how he uses them this year, and if he does use some of them at the fullback positions, and then just what is their mentality? I mean, as a player, sometimes maybe you sacrifice some minutes to win trophies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that was Zinchenko's thing for a
Yeah,
while.
of course it was.
Maybe Jesus'
big
thing
time.
for a while. You know, you win in loads. You
It's worth it, isn't it? It's worth
you
it.
stat padding your Wikipedia page. You know,
Yeah, but if you can't live for your wiki, what's the point, man? Like, you want to live for your wiki, don't you? Like, you can't, like, do you know when everyone talks years ago, like kings and queens? I'm watching like House of Dragon, and he's like, "Will I leave a good legacy?" And like, do you reckon like footballers go, "We'll have a good Wikipedia page one day"? That's what I would want to know, man. I'd want to know, like, what's my Wikipedia gonna be like, and like. People care about John O'Shea because of he won a Champions League at United, you know, like if you don't care about him for any other reason than that, and like Zinchenko, man, like he's won multiple Premier League titles. Do you think he cares if he only started 5 games? No one's going to give a shit. Are they in 10 years from now? I digress. But anyway.
No, I think it'll be difficult, but I could see it. I could see it if they get enough minutes and we win enough trophies. Yeah.
I think there's one player in particular who is much more prone to it, and I think it's Laporte. I think if he doesn't, I think we saw from the fact that he was wanted to leave the ones after the one season where John Stones and Diaz were basically the starting centre backs for a long time.
So he's asked, didn't he, for a straight?
Yeah, he's a player who knows that if he could go to pretty much every top club in Europe and be their number one starting centre back every week. And he just happens to be at the one club where if the right form hits, he won't be. So I think if this season he plays between 30 and 40 games, I think in all competitions, I think he could be looking at like, well, I could go to Barca over the summer and play 60. Me and Koundé could just be like, the boys at Barca. I don't know, but I think Ake and Stones and Diaz is probably going to be the one who plays the most minutes anyway, I would say, out of the 5. But Akanji's just joined, so I think if he gets 25, he'll be fine.
He's definitely
next
season.
Stones and Ake. I think Ake was probably tempted by a move back to Chelsea because of everything going on with Chelsea at the moment, and their sort of their big spending splurge, the fact that he was going back to somewhere he knows. And also, the temptation of being the regular starter every week and that being part of that defensive rebuild is pretty tempting. Stones signed a new deal after a season where he wasn't playing much football. So I think he probably is one of them who very much wants to keep his place and will happily play 20.
He seems
30.
to like it here, doesn't he? Stones just likes life at Man City.
He loves it here. He loves the squad. He loves being that kind of player. If he does play 30, 40 games a season and still wins, 2 or 3 trophies, I think he's fine with that.
He loves his Wikipedia page, basically.
He does. But I think I think Laporte is the one where I think that if he doesn't get the game time that satisfies him, he's not asked about the fact that he's still going to get trophies. I think he's asked about the fact that he's not playing every week, and that will probably mean that unless he is playing every week, he will probably be the one who, at the end of the season, will push for a move again.
I would argue, and I'd like to see what you guys think about this. I would argue that if there was choose one centre back that Guardiola didn't want to leave, it'd be Laporte. That's what I would argue.
Yeah,
do you
he's got a bit of everything. Yeah,
I feel Pep loves him.
Go along with that.
So which is weird because he's probably the one. Like, he probably, I agree, would probably be most content to leave. Would leave. Yeah. I think he's his own person, Laporte, isn't he? I think he's just like I think he's a bit fragile, but in terms of if he doesn't play, he's like, I can go somewhere else straight away, and he slightly empowers himself in that way. But I personally think someone's going to come back in for Ake in the summer. I guess maybe it'll solve itself. Maybe like Laporte will go, I do want to go, and someone comes in for 70 million, we go, okay, go for it then. Or maybe Newcastle do come back for Ake or something like that, and they 50, 60 million, they go, all right, you're gone, and then we just don't let Laporte go. Watch us start next season with just 2 centre backs or something. I don't know. Something crazy will happen.
We're going to go the other way now. We're going to go. Well, we keep being linked with the links with that Gvardiol from Leipzig are still sort of. There's still rumours that we're keeping tabs on him and maybe another couple of.
Is that how you
young
pronounce it? Because I
centre-backs.
haven't said that out loud yet on the video.
I'm assuming it's Gvardiol. It's. I don't know. I think so. Anyway, that's what I've been saying for a long time. So let's hope that that's right. Yeah, I think we're kind of still linked with him despite having already bought Akanji. So I think it. Unless that's just paper talk for the sake of it. But I think we were definitely inquired about him in the summer. We didn't obviously have any intention of buying him this summer, but we inquired about him. And I think that the fact that our name isn't out of the picture probably suggests that we're expecting multiple departures from the defence next summer. So we'll see how that goes.
Question for both of you. You can have a few seconds to think about it. Starting from now. So presume everyone was fit from now. Everyone's available. Rank from lowest to highest, who has the most appearances?
Oh,
God.
For now to the end of the season.
Akanji lowest just because he's the newest. I think
from now to
just
the
purely
season.
off that basis.
So I'm doing that
Ake,
from now to the season just to allow Laporte, a bit of time. So
Ake fourth. No, because I think he probably plays some more games at fullback, so he will get appearances. So, God, maybe Stones fourth, but then he's our only right back if Kyle Walker goes down. I think Diaz and Laporte will probably be the top two, and Stones and Ake you could probably just put in. You could toss a coin on those two, I think, because they're both going to play enough fullback games to cover. I just don't know whether it's for them to. It's probably going to come down to at the end of the season. Are they happy with the fact that they've been playing fullback half the time, like for half their minutes? And if they're not, then
I don't know if I would be happy. I mean, Stones might be because of the Wikipedia page, obviously. But I do. But I don't know if I don't think that Ake would be that happy playing left back constantly. Personally, I don't know that you do a job there, but I feel like he'd just be like,
I don't. What did so obviously he wanted to leave, and then we came back from pre-season, and it was very quickly. It was, oh no, Ake's happy to stay. So what was that? So in that conversation with Pep, I'm assuming that Pep knew we weren't signing a left back because even Gomez was like a relatively last minute thing. Oh, sorry, no, we were in for Cucurella at the time, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
So obviously, Ake was at the time was planned to be one of the centre backs at that point. So yeah, oh God, yeah. So he will have probably said, yeah, I'm happy to stay.
Yeah, maybe,
but not realizing that he'd be playing at left back so much. So yeah, who knows? It could be a game changer.
He hasn't, has he? He's played centre back, I think, this season so far. That's all. But he will do at some point. Back to the descending order list for you, Mulv. What do you reckon?
No, I think the way Joe went through it is exactly what I would do. I think with Stones, because he won't kick up a fuss, and he's quite happy to be here and just contribute when he can. He's likely to get less minutes. I think Laporte's the opposite. I think we've said Laporte, is the one most likely to squeak if he's not getting the time he thinks.
Plays in them because of that as well. I think he does, to be honest.
I think he does. I mean, undoubtedly he's amazing.
Quality as well, yeah.
Credit
in the bank as well for last season with the injury. Like he's got an awful lot of credit, when he played
wow.
and so on.
Wow. Yeah, he was an absolute hero. The way he finished the season. Can we talk a minute about the whole left foot, right foot pairing thing? Because
go for it.
I just want to make sure that if it is Ake that ends up leaving, that we get proper value for what he brings, which is so rare. Top class left footed centre backs. I mean, that's why Chelsea were after him. And he's even that important to us because once Laporte gets injured, he's the only one left. Am I right? I think so.
Yeah.
I do think that is where Guardiola does value the symmetry thing in having one of each playing together. But can we please get a decent value for for Ake if we sell him? Because
the numbers we were rumored with over the summer was like 40 odd, wasn't it? And I was like, that's what we paid for him.
Yeah.
He's a better player. Obviously, after a year with Guardiola or year or two with Guardiola, he is a better player now than he was. And like you say, for all those reasons that you say of why left-footed centre-backs are so, they're not common, and he's a very good one. He's Premier League proven. Why were we willing to just sort of break even on what we paid for him when it came to Chelsea? His
value is definitely healthier because he's already shown once again that he still has that respected leadership vibe that he gave off with Bournemouth, while also being a really good natural defender, physical, committed, reliable, and so on, very likable. Yeah. But he's also shown that he can play in the most impressive possession football side in the world under the best manager in the world, in my opinion, while winning and assisting helping City win the Premier League, and also being excellent when called on at left back, also in the Champions League in some of the tougher games of the season. So surely his value is at least 50% higher. Go on, Wolf.
Well, I'm not particularly astute at watching the build-up and knowing what's working and what's not from the back. Even I can tell the difference, though, between when Ake's playing left back, and because I don't know if you noticed our pattern of play always seems to be down the left and then try to switch over to the right wing. That seems to be a very common thing that we do.
Yeah.
I do feel like we're quite stunted when Ake plays at left back because he's not particularly creative. So yeah, I do prefer him in the centre back role.
Yeah, personally,
Ake.
the same. I don't think he's a great left back. I think he's a functional one every now and then there, which is useful. You know, there's nothing wrong with someone who can do a job, but it's not his role. I don't think it should be.
No.
I think the conclusion I've got is that we've got a great bunch of defenders right now. Like, this is probably, and it's silly to say because we don't know how good Candy's going to be, but based off what we've seen so far, this is the most impressive collection of defenders I've ever seen. You know, in terms of centre backs and so on. It's just phenomenally good. Can we? Oh, final question. Can anyone see us adopting three at the back because of all these defenders? I don't personally think so.
No.
But is it an idea? No.
It removes a midfielder, doesn't it? And I don't think that Pep's really. If there's one position where Pep isn't going to remove a player, it's going to be midfield. Yeah.
He's essentially already doing it. He's already doing three at the back, and he's throwing Cancelo forward. So in the main, so yeah, I can't see it.
Guys, thank you very much for coming on. It's been massively appreciated. I apologise for keeping these too late at the start of the video as well. Thank you very much, of course, to Joe. Go and follow Joe at Joe Butters. And, of course, go and check out Noisy Pod, which is wonderful, wonderful stuff. The link will be in the description. It isn't there because I was rushing and I forgot to add it before I was editing, but it will be there by the time this video is finished. And give them all the follows as well. Both of their Twitters will be over in the description. Thank you very much. Let me know down in the comments how you think this situation will resolve. Is it even an issue? Well, it isn't yet, but will it be an issue come the end of the season? And, of course, let me know what you want to see, how you want to see City line up in terms of centre backs and so on. For now, though, thanks for watching this video. Download OneFootball, link in the description. Say goodbye to these guys here.
Hurrah.
Bye. See you later.
And we'll catch you all very, very soon. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching. Catch you all soon in a bit. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.